Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions Global, let's talk about raids. And then this video will be a little bit different from my usual videos. One, it's going to look different. I'm looking at the Game 8 website, so we can look at the future, what's coming in JP. And then the second thing that's different about this video is that this will be talking about the future in JP. Usually I don't like to talk about this in the context of global videos, because it inevitably leads to questions of people asking like, who should I save for, who should I use? And I don't like answering those questions because I don't want to be telling people how to play the game. There are plenty of resources out there, plenty of tier lists, people with, recommended whomever. But I feel like games like these are a good chance to express your own individuality. Not everybody values that, but yeah, it's more important to me that you use the characters that you want to use, and that I use the characters that I want to use, rather than we all use the same strongest characters and play the game in the exact same way. But the first raid is underway in Global, and hopefully now Global players have an idea of the importance of things like elements, attack types, chains, breaks, imperils, thieves, etc., etc. And we can also see how having a variety of units is a good idea, and how one unit will not be great in all situations. And getting caught flat-footed for a raid and not having a character usable in there is not fun, as I'm sure a bunch of people have found out. So here I wanted to outline the future raids, the boss's weaknesses, and then good units for those raids. Again, no real recommendations on my part, just a presentation of information so that you can make your own choices. And then, of course, we are looking at the recommendations from Game 8. But I'll add some commentary where I feel like it is needed. But first, to address kind of the different phases of the levels of the boss that you go through as you progress through the raid, I'll call it Phase 1. This is easy enough to auto-battle with whomever. Phase 2, you can clear manually with whomever when auto-battle is not good enough. Phase 3, you can clear manually with units that have the right element and attack type. Here you're getting pretty high, like level 60 or so. And then the fourth and final phase is playing multiplayer to gather together top tier units and then make chains. However, if you have enough units yourself with the right element and attack type, you can just stay in Phase 3, never do multiplayer, and then still get all the medals that you need. That's ideal, but that's not going to happen too often. And then all of the units shown here, they will be recommended for Phase 3, while the best of those are for Phase 4. And I think a lot of people maybe have a bad first impression of raids, but I find them really interesting for two reasons. One is the gratification of cooperating well with complete strangers, successfully building good chains, and then clearing it in one go, so you don't need to use an orb. That's really cool. The second reason why I like these raids is because it's fascinating watching how other people act. Like the choices they make, who they use, how they equip them, how they act as hosts as well, who they kick out, who they accept, and then how they play within the actual battle itself. But like on Reddit, I'm reading about people in level 20 multiplayer rooms taking things way too seriously. It's embarrassing, but it's the first raid, so we're going to make mistakes, and then you learn from mistakes. So with the next raid, probably people will be more savvy. And it's not polite to be entertained by other people's peculiarities. But watching all these people, I react like Bill Murray's character in the Royal Tenenbaums, studying that kid with all the learning disabilities.
Good, very good. My goodness, how interesting, how bizarre.
But anyway, let's go through the website. Let's look at what they have to say. We'll look at the chocolate pudding first. Alright, so here are recommended characters. These are not all of them, I think. Where are they? Oh, I guess that is all of them. Alright, so Lucia, Mediana, Yedema, and Miranda. This raid was actually not very well designed because For one thing, like lower rarity units outside of thieves are not good in here. And then the best character is the brand new one, so that's not very friendly to like free-to-play users. But if we look closely at the attributes of this boss, we can see that it's weak to projectile, magic, and wind. So Lucia, of course, is the best. There are no wind magic users outside of Kadia, but you can ignore the element and still get pretty good use out of Mediana and Miranda. But at a certain point, even a team full of all four of those characters, they will not be able to take down the boss in one orb. And that's where Lucia is really going to shine. So at a certain point, Yedema actually becomes the better unit than Mediana. Yeah, but as we can see, the pudding is strong against slash and lightning, but still, people are trying to force Orlando into here. But that too, that will only be good up to a certain point. Okay, so that covers that. From here, the raids will actually become a little bit more easier to do, because a better range of characters, and then more available characters will be good in there. But the next one will probably be the White Marshmallow. And let's look at the weaknesses here. Weak to Strike, Slash, and Dark. So good units here are all the ones that I outline in Stern's review. So like Stern, Shadow Lynx, let's bring that up. Yeah, Vineta, Jiza, Stern, Gafgarion, and Sasayaki. I don't know why she's in here. And then although the boss is weak to Strike, meaning that you could use Jiza and Gafgarion, chaining those Monk abilities, it's going to be hard to get those guys in multiplayer. Most people are going to be using Slash, so if you want to be on the safe side, you could use Slash. But Gafgarion, he can actually do both of those, so you could join rooms with Gafgarion and then change your sub-job, depending on what the host is using. But this is an example of a well-designed raid, because there are many dark Slash characters, so everybody should have at least one by this point, so they can join the raid pretty freely. And then down here we do see Ride. The SR characters, and to a certain extent the MR characters as well, they will be good for filling out your own team as you solo the lower levels. But the more of those that you have, the farther you can get solo, so they are worth having. But I don't know if they are worth joining rooms, like above level 80 or something. They will be able to continue the chains, but their agility will be low enough that they won't act often enough to be super useful, I would say. And then they do feature Orlando in here. He is a Slash attacker, and he does have the defense buff. But you're going to be breaking your team members' dark chains. If they're okay with that, that's fine. But some players are not going to be happy about that. And then in my JP account, when this raid came around, I had enough characters to do my own team. And so I was able to stay in Phase 3 the entire time. Just solo it all the way up to level 100 or whatever it was. And that was very quick and efficient and easy. And yeah, I didn't have to deal with multiplayer at all, so I didn't have to worry about getting friends together or kicking people that weren't fitting or wasting that time. So yeah, ideally, you could just solo the whole thing. Okay, next, let's look at the Final Fantasy I collaboration raid for the Death Machine. And then this is the one that I'm going to be speaking about the most, because it's kind of the most important raid to do well. But let's look at the weaknesses. Oh, I guess there's no graphic of the boss. Well, I'll just tell you. It is weak to light, slash, and magic. So if we look at the recommended characters, there we are. We can see Warrior of Light, Ramza, Thancred, and Rob. But I would also add Engelbert and Vistral. And also light magic is usable in here, so here's Mashiri. And then she has Banish, which will be a chaining magic spell. There's also Holy, that will chain element, but it will not chain spells. so it's not going to be as useful for higher levels, especially I tried this in JP, and like even over level 30 that wasn't a viable strategy. And so yeah, if you can get one or preferably two light/attackers, that would be a good idea, I think. But the reason why you want to do this raid is because you will get the limited time equipment, the Armor of Light. And this is terrific. I use this all the time in JP. It is a heavy armor. It has pretty good HP, 400 or so. And then you can get the defense or the spirit pretty high as well. And then the bonus stat is magic resistance +8, I think, at +5. So yeah, that's great for Sasayaki, that's great for Algarius or Warrior of Light, anybody that wants to be a magic tank. But I often use it just on regular guys, just because the defense, spirit, and HP are pretty solid. And furthermore, and this is the first time that this was available, but if you raise the level of your boss raid to a certain level, you would get free Armors of Light. So if you got it to level 40, you would get a +2 Armor of Light. If you got it to level 80, you would get a +4 Armor of Light free. This is great for hardcore users that want to make the +5. That pretty much cuts your work in half. But it's also great for players that are happy with just a +2 or a +4. That could be free-to-play users in particular. So yeah, you would not even need to buy a single recipe if you were happy with that. The one problem there, though, is that you don't get to choose the type that you get. It just gives you the Armor of Light, and then it's Barrier or Vital or whatever. So, most people should have a good light/unit, but I was caught flat-footed in JP, so I had to work on Rob in a hurry, and I made it just in time. And then also, Steal Time will not work on this boss, so the thieves that you would use up to now, they'll not be as useful here. Slow, however, will work. So you could use that samurai attack where you spin around in a circle. So that would make Rob even better. He has that. But also Sasayaki. She has a samurai subjob, so she could use that attack, join in the slash chains, and then maybe slow the boss. There's also the slow counter, which is a time mage reaction skill. But I don't recommend that since the boss hits very hard, and time mages aren't generally very beefy. It's better to use tanks or evade units. So tanks would be Warrior of Light or Engelbert again, or people with evade like Rob. But when I did this in JP, I didn't pay too much attention to slow, and I was able to get the +5 armor, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But since the solo rewards are so good in this raid, that means more people are going to be playing solo. So it will be harder to get a full team to join your room. And so that's why I recommend going into this raid doing pair rooms rather than like 4 players. So 2 users, 2 units each. That way you only need 1 friend to make a full room rather than 3, which I had a lot of trouble getting in JP. But that means you need 2 light/attackers if you want to go to level 80 and beyond. And then a lot of people, if they join your room, they might be surprised to see it's a pair room, so you want to give them some time to set their second unit. But yeah, my free-to-play account in Global is in trouble because I have 0 light/attackers ready to go. I do have Engelbert, Rob, and Vistral actually, but I don't have any confidence that I can get 2 of those up to level 79 by that time. So I'm probably just going to aim for level 40, get that +2, and then call it a day, whatever type it is. Then let's see what they say about Orlando here. /attacker, defense debuff. Yeah, same stuff as before. At a certain point, he's just not going to cut the mustard. Okay, next raid was Efreeti, I think. Let's see. Oh, there it is. And then this is the first one where it's like a 2-in-1. There's a hard raid in there mixed in with the regular raid. But let's look at the stats. Weak to magic and water. So Miranda and Irudira, they will be the best ones. There they are. And then, let's see, Severo, he's an SR unit. He also does the water magic attacks, but again, he should be kept in your own solo party while you're soloing the earlier raids, like level 30 or whatever. But really, any magic user is pretty good. In my team, I used Yashutura, Salia, and Kirufe. And that got me as high as I needed to go before I needed to change to Miranda and then joining other people. Mediana is not good in here because of Efreet's resistance to ice. And then if you wanted to do the magic chains, of course, you need to use the spells that actually chain, so like no flare and stuff. And who else we got here? We see Christmas Ramada. She's a slash attacker, but water element, so maybe in lower level raids she could do well. And then yeah, here's Kirufe here. This boss did a lot of damage, so having kind of more beefy magic users like Kirufe or Miranda worked out well here. And then here we see Rain. He was kind of a surprise pick here, but he does magic type attacks, but he can also do 3 hits at once. So he's automatically a better chainer than all of these other characters. And then his limit break, which I think he can use from turn 1, that will imperil fire. So even though Efreet doesn't have any particular resistance or weakness to fire, because you can imperil him, suddenly Rain is going to be doing a lot of damage. And then I've seen videos where people go in with like, 3-4 Rains, and then when they're doing their 3-hit chaining attacks, they're doing like 9999 damage every hit, which is insane. So yeah. For all future bosses weak to magic, Rain is going to be a legitimate consideration. And then next is the Golden Cactar, the rare raid hidden within the Efreet raid. That is weak to wind and projectile and magic. Sounds familiar. But here, Lucia, again, she will be one of the best. There's still not a wind element magic user. But you can bring characters that are just wind element or just magic users, as we see here, and do pretty well in there. Okay, and then last, let's look at the current raid going on now, which I am not really playing because I'm focusing on global. But this is the King Behemoth, and then he is weak to Pierce and Light. So if we look at characters good for that... Oh my goodness, Rob is not even in here. But my pick for the best is Rob, actually, because he is a light element character with the Lancer subjob. There are other light characters with Pierce attacks, like Thancred and Warrior of Light, but they're Dragoons, so it's hard to kind of time their attacks so that they match your chains. But again, we see more characters with either Pierce or the element. So here's Gurasira. She is a Pierce attacker, but she can chain. She's the first chaining Pierce attacker, so 3 hits there. Victora, she has the Pierce attack and she just does a ton of damage. Ramza, he's a light element user with the 3-hit attack. And then here they have Ayaka. She can use Holy, but again, Holy is not going to chain as a magic spell, only the element. Kirufe, her too, she can do the Holy. And then Irudita down here, she's just a magic user. She doesn't have any of the element. And then here even it says, if you don't chain her, she's not going to do a lot of damage, so I wonder why they put her in here. Okay, and then the secret raid boss, or the hard raid boss, is the Tonberry. There he is. Weak to ice and slash. So, best characters for there will be Laswell, Gilgamesh, and Agrius. I don't know why Agrius is not here. But also you want the defense piercing, which is why Binera and then Super Stern are in here. And then Victora, she just does so much damage that, yeah, with the element advantage, that will be enough to include her in here. But yeah, I think that will do it for the look at the future raids. Maybe you can look through those lists of characters, and then like maybe see who you have. Maybe you're working on one, you're in the middle of working on one, you can continue to work on it. I think level 79 is good enough for most of these raids. But hopefully this was helpful. And again, my biggest advice for the moment would be to get 1 or maybe 2 light/attackers. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.